Hello, everybody. I welcome you to our IMI Prefer webinar about designing, conducting, and applying results from patient preference studies, the Prefer framework. My name is Conny Berlin. I'm the industry lead of the IMI Prefer project, and I'm happy to introduce this webinar to you, and I will now share my screen. So let's get started. First, thanks very much for your interest in this webinar, for attending it. We have a high number of registrations and we are really happy about your interest. So let me introduce the topic of today. Over the recent years, the patient perspective became a really important element in drug development. However, there is a lack of guidance how to capture the patient voice. What is important to note is that patient preferences, which are our today's topic, are one component to capture patients' voice in medical product decision making. And also here, we face a lack of experience and uncertainty about how to conduct patient preference studies and how to apply the results. When we started the Prefer project, we had a lot of open questions. So examples are, can patients do these preference studies? Which patients? Do we have cognitive requirements? What methods should we apply in patient preference studies? How valid are the results? And as you can see, many, many more questions. So these questions shaped the Prefer project goals, which are to establish recommendations to support development of guidelines for industry, regulatory authorities, for health technology assessment bodies and payers on how and when to include patient preferences to inform medical product decision making. One other goal of this Prefer project is a qualification opinion, which we seek from the European regulators, EMA, and from the HTA bodies, UNETA. This qualification is about the Prefer framework, endpoints to consider for method selection, along with 5 methods for performing patient preference studies to inform regulatory and HTA body medical product decision making. We expect that the public consultation for this qualification opinion starts in the next few weeks, and we would like to use that opportunity to share with you that this would be one option for you and the only option to show continuous interest in this topic, to read actually the qualification documents and to submit your feedback. We have all your email addresses from the registration, and so we will contact you once we know that the public consultation starts to inform you about this period. Now, why do we have developed a Prefer framework? In general, frameworks provide a common understanding of how to approach a complex problem. Those of you who are familiar with drug development know that over the last 20 years, benefit risk frameworks have been developed, such as, for example, the BRED framework. And these frameworks have helped to support the submission dossiers and the presentation of benefit risk in a structured way. Now, you have seen from the many open questions we had at the beginning of the project that also Prefer faces a complex problem. So that's the reason why IMI Prefer has developed a framework for patient preference studies. And this Prefer framework aims to inform patient preference study teams on the design of those studies, on the considerations when to conduct preference studies, but also to guide decision makers when using preference study results. The Prefer framework for patient preference studies has 3 major framework components, and you will learn about these framework components today. So Kristin from Lilly will show you the overview of all the framework of the both framework components 1 and 2. Brett Hauer from Pfizer will show you the points to consider for method selection. Bennett Levitin from Janssen will talk about the application of preference data to regulatory decisions. And Irina Klimkut from the Belgium Health Care Knowledge Center, KCE, will talk about the application of preference data to HTA decisions. We will spend between 10 and 20 minutes for each of these topics. And then we have at the end about 20 minutes for questions and answers. So I would like to ask you to submit your questions in writing already during the webinar in the chat tool so that we can address these questions later. But you still have the option to raise your hand and your voice during the Q&A session. If you have questions after the webinar, then please feel free to contact the PREFARE Consortium via contact@imi-prefer.eu. And we also would like to share with you that there is a series of PREFARE webinars. Those which happened already are recorded, and you find them on YouTube. You see the link here. These recordings contain all the presentations, but not the Q&A sessions. And you also can see on our PREFARE webpage what other webinars will come in the future. So please just watch our calendar and get registered for further webinars. With this, I'm happy to hand over to our first speaker, who is Kristin Bullock.